Hey guys, we're back with more Valkyrie profile. So, last time we went through the introductory section of the game, which went on for quite a while. Now we're finally in the actual game itself. And we are introduced to the first dungeon in the game, the Artolian Mountain Ruins. And this is basically the tutorial dungeon, and has a pretty banging music. I mean, like, it's one of those really catchy, upbeat tracks to start the game off. I'm a sucker for these tracks, and yeah, this is definitely one of those tracks for sure. Yeah, you can't really go through there yet. To actually get through there, you actually have to go over to another area. And I should basically point out a few things about Valkyrie now. You can basically shoot these crystals at enemies, and what it'll do is it'll freeze them in place. And you can't enter battle with them frozen, but you can enter battle when they're not frozen.
To my side,
and this is our first real fight in the game. So, I forgot to mention this before, but both Angren and Jolanda's voice actors have passed away, and Jolanda's voice actress actually passed away not long ago, which is kind of interesting given the fact that in this game the characters that they both voiced also passed away, but in real life their real life English voice actors passed away in tragic ways, which is kind of sad, but at the same time it's kind of interesting how coincidental that is, given the fact that the characters in this game also, like, that they play as, also died in pretty bad ways. But yeah, I just thought it was worth mentioning. But yeah, in any case, as I say, rest in peace Rachel Lewis and Maddie Blaustein. Yeah, they as I say, I do think that Damien Clark did a good reprisal of Angren. I do in 2, but it is sad that they passed away in ways that they did, and like, I really hope the best for their family and everything. Right. So yeah, but anyways, we're gonna get to the game now. Mages can like attack like only if they have like charge time. So the charge time is a gauge that's at the bottom.
As expected,
so
we are
magic
the victors.
Isn't something that you can just attack with every turn. You have to basically have an empty charge gauge to actually do it. If you don't, then you won't be able to do it. So yeah. But anyways, yeah, we've got an enemy here, and it's guarding a bag. And yeah, we're going to attack this enemy here.
To my side, my noble
Now it's just more zombies. But like I said, with mages, you can only attack with mages if they have an empty charge time gauge. Otherwise, you can't use magic. So that's just something to bear in mind. Now, mages are great at getting rid of like guarding enemies, so they can usually good at like breaking through defense, and to be perfectly honest, they're kind of overpowered in this game. So it's definitely worth using them. But as you can see there, Jolanda couldn't use her attack. That's because we don't have enough charge. Right, that's because she needs to recharge her spell. And those little gems that drop from the those little gems that drop from the enemy, those actually replenish the charge time gauge. So that's just something to be aware of. Anyways, we're gonna fight this one.
To my side, my noble Einherjar.
Now, you may notice that I'm actually releasing my Let's Play of Valkyrie Profile 1 after Valkyrie Profile 2. So you're probably wondering why I'm doing that. Like, why I'm starting with 1. Well, the thing is, I wanted to do 2 anyway. And yeah, obviously Valkyrie Profile 2 is different, so I'm assuming that people who are watching this haven't watched my video on 2, obviously, but at the same time, if you have watched my videos on 2, then I just want to basically make it clear that this game does work a little differently than 2, as you can see, and mages in 2 are very different as well, because you don't have the whole, like, oh, come on, you have to do this to pick up items in this game, you have to basically crouch down, and I can't stop it doing that. There we go. And yeah, like, the main difference is, well, in combat wise, is the charge time gauge, which basically means that mages can't always attack. But the thing about the charge time gauge is that it also affects like your finishing moves as well, which we will get to. And yeah, you can open the gate with the key. And like I say, I do like these animated like sections here. Pretty nice, not gonna lie. But yeah, the thing about it is that in Valkyrie 2, like, you don't have to deal with charge time for your finishing moves, so you can basically use your finishing moves without any cost, so long as you can get the heat gauge up. Now, in Valkyrie 1, there is a cost to using them, and it's the charge time, so you don't want to just abuse soul crushes, or whatever they're called purify weird souls in this. I'd probably show one off right here
To
anyway.
my side, my noble Einherjar.
Yeah, so
These
the purify weird soul attacks, as you see when the heat reaches 100%, you can use purify weird soul, and we're going to use Freya's purify weird soul, which I'm pretty sure is a weird, like, translation of Soul Crush, like, that they had at the time, but, yeah. I think Soul Crush sounds better, and it just makes more sense than Purify Weird Soul, but whatever. But Soul Crush is what they call it in 2, in 1 it's called Purify Weird Soul. I just don't know why they called it that, but it's basically a special move. And yeah, you can't just use them all the time. Like, you actually have to, like, be careful when you use them and choose when to use them, because your choice as to whether or not you should, like, use them ultimately depends on, like, the situation. So sometimes you don't want to use these special moves at all, whereas in Valkyrie 2 there's really no penalty for using them. So yeah, anyways, you want to hit this with, oh, Ray's going to tell you to do this, I guess. Yeah, you can use the crystals to create, like, steps for you, so you can use them as platforms temporarily. That's basically Lenneth's gimmick, which is another thing that's a little different with Valkyrie 1 compared to Valkyrie 2. Another thing that's different is that Lenneth can also do this, like, slide, which you can't do in Valkyrie 2 either. So yeah, that's an interesting thing to know. Obviously, like, you can do this, and you can, like, get a double side crystal, and, like, you can shoot it again, it'll launch you. So that's something to bear in mind as well. But anyways, we're gonna go down here. You can hit the enemies, but yeah, as you can see, it doesn't work the same as Valkyrie 2, where you can, like, switch places. So that's something to bear in mind as well. But that's for people who have played Valkyrie 2. If you're playing this game and you're just watching this video for the first time, having not played Valkyrie 2, you probably won't know what I'm talking about, because this is the first game, and yeah, as I say, it's a very different game from 2. So because I played through 2 first, or have started playing through 2 first, I thought I should clear that up so that people who are watching, who are, like, confused, understand what's going on. But anyways, yeah, we got this whole area over here. There's a lot to this dungeon, but because I want to try and get through this as fast as possible, yeah, you got that whole area there. Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time exploring it. I just want to get through this dungeon so we can get to the other parts later, and yeah. One thing to bear in mind with this whole area, like with this whole setup that we've got here, is that pretty much all of the attacks are going to hit really low. So yeah, as you can see, you can use Freya's again, but there's really no point. You don't want to do this in this game unless you are really wanting to pile damage on. Like, usually chaining soul crushes together in this game, or purified weird souls, I'm so used to calling them soul crushes, so sorry guys, it just isn't really a good idea unless you really want to pile on the damage, because as you can see, it means that you're going to have less charge time, and that's going to be problematic. And as you can see, the charge time gauge is, like, it's up for Angrim and Freya because we've used their purify weird souls, so you want to avoid doing that, and it's something that I'm kind of like not used to after having played 2 for like this whole time. I'm trying to get used to it again, guys. Bear with me. But yeah, as long as you like are very careful when you launch the enemy with Firestorm, you should be fine. But you gotta be careful with that launch because it's a bit nasty. But anyways, yeah, we should be able to do some decent damage to this guy. But we can't really get like the purified weird soul until we do it with everybody. But with this, with the last hit, oh well. Does it really matter? I feel that, I don't know about you, but I feel that Valk Profile 1, at least combat-wise, it's a lot more, like, it's a lot more forgiving if you miss an attack. Like, it's not really as, like, strict as Valk Profile 2 with the attacks, in my opinion. Like, Valk Profile 2 feels like that missing an attack, you really don't want to do it. Like, because they put a huge emphasis on the combat, whereas this game, well, the combat is very, how do I put it? It feels very deliberate. I don't know the best way to describe it. Like, it feels very constrained. It feels more like it doesn't have the scope of potential that 2's combat has. But at the same time, because of that, it's a lot more streamlined and it's a lot easier to just like pick up and play, if you know what I mean. And yeah, we've got this area here, and yeah, there's some spikes down there, you don't want to fall on those. Yeah, this area isn't really needed to do, like, you don't need to do it at all. I always have trouble with this. Every single time, like, when you get to the top, you have to jump. It's weird, these ladder things are just a bit odd, to be perfectly honest with you, they really are. You can't just move to the left either, you have to literally jump and then move after the jump. It's kind of awkward, but yeah. As I say, I feel that this game as well, there's a lot more emphasis on platforming in Valk Profile 1 than there is in 2. Like, the dungeons are also huge in this game, like absolutely massive. Like, you can just traverse these dungeons for ages to find all the treasures, and we are not going to do that. Like, there's just too much dungeon in this, and, you know, like, I feel that the dungeons are, like, they are absolutely massive, and for better or for worse, really. Like, if you're the sort of person that loves to indulge in this sort of thing, like, if you're a big fan of, like, say, the dungeons in Star Ocean Blue Sphere, then you are going to absolutely love the dungeons in this game. Like, you are. Well, I say love, but, yeah, like, let's put it this way, like, it's very similar in the sense that they are very meaty, and, they are, like, massive. Also, like, the interesting thing about Jolanda here is she does not have access to great magic yet. Now, in Valk Profile 2, mages can use their great magic guaranteed as long as they have access to a special attack with their weapon. That is not the case in Valk Profile 2. I mean, that is not the case in Valk Profile 1, because in Valk Profile 1, like, you have to get a weapon that allows for great magic in order to use it. So instead, you'll use like an enhanced version of a spell as your finisher. So that's kind of how it will work. So these are like just talking about the differences between both games, pretty much in terms of the combat, and that's kind of what I'm focusing on here. But really, there isn't too much else to say other than that. I mean, there is event experience which you can get from doing certain things in a dungeon, and it should be noted that the whole point of dungeon crawling in this game is simply to basically grind levels for your Iron Hair Guard. That's really the reason why you're doing them. That and to get certain artifacts, which can be useful and can be helpful, but like, there's really no reason to do them other than that, really, just to collect artifacts and to gain levels and like get as much experience as possible. So obviously, if there's something that you can do in the game that is like connected to the dungeon, and the game's going to reward your exploration with more experience. If you go to the party, if you go to the experience orb, and you can like distribute that experience to anyone you like. This plays a huge part in the game later on. Well, not soon, but like quite soon actually. But when I say later on, I mean like after this dungeon. But yeah, like it's something that you kind of should bear in mind. But anyways, as I say, I'm trying to remember where to go after this. Because yeah, you got that to break down, and has been a while, guys. I know that there's somewhere that you need to go. I don't think it's here though. No, it's not there. And it's not here either, I'm guessing. No, it's not there. I mean, there's an enemy that drops down there, maybe I should fight him. Oh, two enemies.
To my side,
Right,
my
yeah.
noble Einherjar.
Fight some enemies. I would say that it's worth fighting all the enemies in the dungeon in this game. Like, if you see an enemy, fight it. Because experience in this game is very important for pretty much everybody in the party. Like I mean, maybe not like for like Lena herself, like it's not really as important, but for your Iron Hair it's very important, and there's a reason why. Here we go. You get Needle and Velocity, yes, but as you can see, Needle and Velocity doesn't really do the full attack yet. You kind of have to get a better weapon for that. But yeah. Like, gaining experience and levels is so much more important in this game than it is in 2. Because in this game, you need it to develop your Iron Hair. You'll find out why soon enough. But, like I say, this is a very different game, so you want to fight ideally every enemy in this dungeon. Like, every single one. Like obviously, you can still skip enemies. It's not going to be the end of the world if you do. But it's recommended that you don't. It's recommended that you, like, because I know I'm going the wrong way here. I think what I need to do is, like, get these 2 crystals and, like, go back up here, and then I have to go up here. Yeah, that's where we need to go. I always get lost here every time I go here. But yeah, I've just remembered, yeah, you don't go to the bottom here, you have to go over here. This is where we need to go. But yeah, we've got another enemy here. I'm not going to fight everything, I'm not going to do everything in this area, in this dungeon. I'm just going to get through it. That's kind of the goal of this video, is to help people get through the game who don't want to spend too much time playing it. Like, if you're the sort of person who wants to indulge in this game, this video probably isn't for you. But there's other like Let's Plays out there for people who want that. Like, I would recommend watching Climbing Partners Let's Play if you're looking for a more in-depth Let's Play of the game, because that is a pretty in-depth one, and it's one that I would recommend out of all the in-depth ones. But there are other ones as well. I just say his is probably the one I recommend. So yeah, there's a lot of people out there who are going who basically will do everything in this game, and I'm just not one of them. So I'm just going to help you, like, I'm just here to try and help you beat this game as quickly and as easily as possible, You know, I'm not going to claim to be an expert at Valkyrie profile in any way, shape or form. This is just going to be a very simple playthrough, and that's pretty much what I'm aiming for, really. So yeah, we've got the Pongo here and the It's just going to be simple fights at this point. There's nothing that's going to be really anything of a challenge at this point in the game. And like I said, this game, I wouldn't really say that the combat in this game is the hardest thing about it. The combat in this game isn't really that much of a challenge. Like, it's got its tough moments, don't get me wrong. It's still a challenging game, and there are moments in the game where if you don't level up, the game can get really punishing. And this game can still be extremely punishing. But I won't say that this game is I definitely say that the combat is it is definitely I don't really know, to be honest, in terms of difficulty. I mean, it's hard to say whether or not it is easier or harder than Valkyrie Profile 2. It really is. But let's put it this way. I feel that the combat isn't really where the bulk of the difficulty of this game's difficulty is. I will just say that, but the combat isn't really going to be isn't really going to be too hard outside of certain fights. There are some fights in this game that can be pretty tough, definitely, absolutely, and we're no doubt going to see them. But what I'm saying is combat is not the primary issue, if I'm saying. It's not where the bulk of this game's difficulty is. Which should say a lot about this game difficulty-wise, because, as I say, the combat isn't inherently easy. It's not an easy game, but, as I say, it's not necessarily a hard game combat-wise. I feel that once you get used to the combat, it becomes very, it just becomes very samey, because you're mainly following the same formula once you get it down. But obviously, because you'll be using different iron hair yard, the formula will change periodically, and you'll get used to different formulas later on. I mean, there is an emphasis on setup and stuff, and that definitely plays a role in it. There's still quite a bit here to tinker around with. It's a lot less demanding than 2 in that regard. It's more simplistic and kind of basic by comparison to 2. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, nor is it necessarily a good thing. It is just what it is. But anyways, we're about to face the first boss of the area. As you can see, we're in decent shape, so we're ready to go and fight the first real boss fight of the game, which is these guys, these emo-looking guys, they're vampires. And yeah, as you can see, you are basically Valkyrie's here to bring justice to undead people. And yeah, you don't get Freya for this, but Freya will give you a new sword, the Rater Palash, and what this will do is it gives us 3 attacks. So now we can extend our attacks. So as you can see, we get a little guard break tutorial. And the best way to deal with guard breaking is to just use a mage, but unfortunately we can't do that right now, so we're just going to have Lenneth attack and yeah, she go through it with the later hits, and yeah, he hit aggro. Yeah. So now Jolanda can use her attack. That will break the guard, and then we can actually follow up with Lenneth's attack, and yeah. And now it's just the vampire. And we're going to hit the Shadow Servant. One thing I will definitely say about this game is that in terms of the damage that enemies do, they tend to deal a lot of damage. So, you have to be aware of the fact that you are going to take some nasty hits in this game. but once you are prepared for that, you shouldn't really have too many problems. I mean, as I say, there is something that I'm going to do to like right after this, which is definitely going to help if you are struggling, and it'll definitely make things a lot easier for you if you are having a hard time with this game. But obviously we have to get through this fight first, so we're going to do just that, and yeah. Unfortunately we can't really get our Purified Weird Soul right now, but yeah, we can still prepare for it, and yeah, we managed to finally kill the boss. Nice. And yeah, that wasn't too hard. And for being in, so we got a nice experience, and we got a broadsword, which is nice. And when you beat a dungeon, you get these blue chests. I will assure you that none of these blue chests are booby-trapped. They are containers of items, so you don't have to worry about that. But if we open them, we will get a sealed box. Now, here's the thing about this. The game will say that you can offer these artifacts up to Odin because they belong to him. Don't. Now, we got another one here, and this is the Dual Blade Grim Wrist. Once again, this is an artifact that's owned by Odin. Just forget that they even mention that and just always select no. And yep, we'll finish the dungeon, and when the dungeon is finished, Blameless Sports will play, and yes, you get to leave the dungeon. Yeah, the game doesn't teleport you out of the dungeon because that'd be too convenient, wouldn't it? Instead, it basically requires you to make your own way out of the dungeon, which is kind of annoying, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, as you can see, the Antler Sword is our default weapon. You can have the Long Sword, which is worse. And as you can see, the Antler Sword only has one attack, but it has 100 attack. Long Sword has 98 attack, but only one attack. Grim Wrist has one attack, but it's the third attack, and it's lightning elemental, and it has more hit. And the Broadsword has 130 attack and one attack, but it has 6% chance of breaking. So you don't want to use that unless you absolutely need to. We're going to equip this for now, but it will only be temporarily. You want to unequip the Nibelungen Ring. It gives you darkness protection, but it's you don't want to equip that. Unequip that immediately. As for Argon, as I say, he can equip like regular swords. Just thought we should know that. You can also equip the long sword, which is actually better than his two-handed sword by lots of things, because if you look at his two-handed sword, like it's actually only 80 attack. So yeah, it's not as good as like the other swords that Lenneth can equip, which all have attack in the hundreds. You can replace it with like a long sword if you want for like better attack, but it will do the first attack. So yeah, you've got to bear that in mind. Now, you can go to the start screen and you can see like the order of attacks. As you can see, like Valkyrie's attack is vertical raid. So, as I say, we can't really like, as I say, like I'm trying to think. I think you go to ability. Yeah, like you can like change the order of your attacks here if you so wish, but to do that, as I say, you need to equip something that is like different. So as you see here, we have the broadsword equipped, and we go to ability, it will do the third. So yeah, that's kind of how it goes. But as I say, right now it doesn't really show it. It just shows vertical raid, and that's it. And yeah, we're going to equip the Grim Wrist because that's not going to break. So yeah, anyways, we're going to leave the dungeon now. We've got what we needed. And yeah, leaving the dungeon is it's a bit of a pain, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, but that's just the way the game is, I'm afraid. You're going to have to walk out of every single dungeon. At least you get to listen to Blameless Thoughts on the way out, which is a pretty nice track, but yeah, it is kind of annoying how we have to like walk all the way out of a dungeon that we've gone in, and these dungeons can be kind of long. There are a few that you don't have to walk out of, but there's a lot that you do, unfortunately, and yeah. And now, because we fell down there, we can't just climb back up without the crystals, so you have to use the crystals to get back up. So yeah, like I say, this is just a tutorial dungeon. It's to teach you the basics of the game, which you will need to know later on, believe me. And yeah, once you get here, Freya will give you a tutorial about the rest of the stuff that you have to deal with in the game. But yeah, like, I'm going to explain it to you anyways. Yeah, she teaches you about how to send Einherjar to Asgard and all of that stuff. But I wouldn't bother paying attention to what the game is talking about. I will instead pay attention to what I'm going to say, because let's put it this way, like, the game doesn't really explain itself very well, whereas I do explain it well because I know the game. So you definitely want to listen to me or any expert of the Valkyrie Profile series that knows about the game more than I do, which I'm no expert, by the way. But yeah, like, don't bother with the game's tutorial. You know, listen to what I'm going to say, because I'm going to explain everything right afterwards. Now, what they're saying is that you can't send up Arngrim because he doesn't have the hero value that they need. Now, as I say, like, because of that, Arngrim is basically going to be in the party for the entire game if you want to keep him in the party. You can take him out, but like, you might as well just have him in the whole party, because he, like, they don't want him and they don't want to send him, so yeah, they don't want you to send him, so yeah. You can talk to this pixie for some advice, but I don't see the point. Like, you might as well just leave this dungeon right now, because and to do so, you just go through there, and you exit to the world map, and we are finally in Chapter 1. And this is where the game truly begins.